they say that the number one reason for couples leaving is
It's like then all our money will get drained.
maybe like the budget conscious me is not existent. Okay, hi everyone. So welcome to the Curious and Courageous Planet. Today I'm Darren.
I'm Jeanette.
And together we'll be talking about financial conflicts in couple. Okay, so why this topic is because the latest article by Psychology Today, they say that the number one reason for couples leaving is financial conflict. So that is something that I think is a bit dicey, but we're here to be curious and courageous to look at this topic.
I mean, how we manage our finance is actually quite
unique.
Whose idea was it? I think it was my idea, right?
I think it was your idea.
Yeah.
But I did some research on the idea.
Okay.
Yeah. Essentially, we were discussing how we should manage our finance a few years back. And there's two options. Right? One is we have a common account and then we each have our own savings account. And the other one is we each have, and the other one is like both of us have just one account, right?
And then we went with the second one.
Yeah, and then we went with the second one.
How has it been so far for you?
Wow, I think it's a very big change. Like,
yeah, okay. How about you share your perspective
Okay.
first, then I share my perspective. So basically, we have been doing this for, I think, since we got married, right? Actually, slightly before we got married, maybe so around 2 years already. Actually, now is a good time for a review. We should take this opportunity to just review how we feel about having this as our finance strategy.
Yeah. So I think, right, I'm a person that spends very freely. Maybe like the budget conscious me is not existent. But ever since this arrangement, right, I think there's more budget consciousness. So that's one of the things that happen. But it's not a very easy to follow kind of thing. As in, like, it's very, how to say, there's a learning curve, there's an adjustment period, I feel.
What do you mean by you used to be more budget conscious and now you're not that budget conscious?
No, I used to not be budget conscious.
Okay.
But then with this, you're more aware of the things you spend.
How
right?
so?
Like, like last time, if you're so liberal with money, like I'm very liberal, then it's end up like end of the month, not much savings left. So that's one of the things that I feel like when we put our money together and we track the spending together, I think that is something that's helped me be more budget conscious.
So what is the mechanism behind it? So is it because like now we put our money together, before you spend, you will think of me as well? That's why?
Yeah, there's more responsibility, right? But I think also there is this like feeling of, like being conscious about it, conscious spending. Like instead of maybe being more liberal. But of course the downside, then you can't be very liberal. You get what I mean?
Yeah, so actually this method works for you because I can imagine for other people it can be the opposite. When you put the money together, then you suddenly, because of your psyche, somehow it's wired in a different way, right? You just become more liberal with your spending because now you think, two is stronger than one. I mean, it could go that way. So that's why I wanted to understand the mechanism behind what do you mean by you become more budget conscious.
Yeah.
So it feels like for you is the responsibility that gets stronger, that you can sense, now it's not just when I spend, I need to think about another half.
Yeah, I tell you this story, okay? I don't think I told you before, but last time I went to this, did I tell you like I went to this feng shui master, fortune teller?
The big nose one?
Yeah, the big nose one.
I think you told me before.
I told you before. Did I? So basically what this fortune teller tell me is like, he said, I remember I was very young and he was saying, this kid, right, he earned a lot of money because his nose very big, which is a very common Chinese saying.
Can I press?
How? Yeah.
Wow. It's not only big, it's very
spongy.
It's spongy.
Yeah.
And squishy.
This guy nose is a bit. This guy nose is a bit small.
doesn't even have a nose lah.
Oh yeah, does it have?
That's
That's not a nose. That's just the mouth.
Yeah.
So basically, he said, this guy nose very big, so he earn a lot of money, but his nostril very big also, so will leak out a lot of money. So he needs something to 压着他的钱.
Okay.
Yeah.
所以你是说我是那个压着你的钱
No, this mechanism is 压着他的钱.
Okay.
Yeah, so to be clear, right, Jeanette has never like controlled my spending. Like, not never controlled, but like she has never like said, don't buy or what. But we are just mindful of the budget. So with this, naturally, like there's some like conscious like, oh, like I'll think about it, whether is it really necessary. Yeah.
I think it's okay to have to explain. 是我压着的天 I will gladly take it.
Yeah, okay, fine, like whatever you word it, but
Thanks to the fortune teller.
Yeah, the fortune
so actually
teller.
it's quite accurate, the fortune teller.
I don't know, but the funny thing is, it's two fortune tellers saying the same thing.
Wow, actually now we're on this topic of fortune teller, right? Wow, suddenly just a lot of things comes up, but let's not go there. We can make another episode
Yeah.
talk about that.
Yeah. Okay. And going back to the original topic, right, which is couple conflict. So talking about personal finance, I think this was a part of our lives that we quarreled quite a bit before this arrangement. You realize like before we had this arrangement, we quarreled a little bit about how we settle the savings, the budgeting,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. But before that, maybe I also share how I feel about this.
Yeah.
Can you ask?
How do you feel about this
No,
mechanism?
like you have to connect. Okay, so maybe I explain why I even thought that this would be a good mechanism in the first place. Even though it's not very typically seen among couples. Yeah. I don't know, it just feels intuitive for me, firstly. So whenever I make decisions, I always feel whether something feels right for me before looking at all the facts and logic or evidence or case studies to back it up. So a very clear signal to me, the second one just feels more right. You know, just now the first and second choice that you talk about. To me, it just feels more right. And that's why I even brought it up into our relationship. But upon kind of going deeper to think, hey, why this resonates with me, right? I would think that because, actually I explained this to my friends quite a number of
Okay.
times.
Oh, you explain it to your friends.
Yeah, but now that
Okay.
I'm trying to explain, right, it's very hard for me to explain. Okay, but I think, right, it highlights a few core values. Yeah, it's like the biggest fear that you would think about having this kind of arrangement is that, oh, maybe what if like suddenly, you know, one of us, you know, need a big sum of money. Big sum of money, right? I mean that is we are going to the most extreme scenario, right? Maybe your family or your friend need a big sum of money. Okay, hypothetically, they got the loan shark.
Okay.
Okay, then when it's like then all our money will get drained. But that comes from a very fear-based mentality as well. You get what I mean? So I think a lot of people want to caution against putting their money together is because, you know, either they are afraid that their spouse will run away with their money, or that when they're in difficulty, you know, when the other party is in difficulty, maybe the money will get drained as well. But if you think about it, these fears are they are all illusions, right? I mean,
illusion.
okay, in the 3D world, it's not.
It's 3D. So it's a valid it's valid concern, but it stems from fear. Right? It stems from fear.
It stems from fear, yeah. So I'm just thinking, if this mechanism isn't there to test this, you know, this fear, right? Would your relationship still, you know, be intact? The intention of this is to, you know, have a more togetherness. We plan together. And another thing is, okay, so that's the first thing that most people are afraid of. But I think what is more important is actually the communication.
First is togetherness, second is communication.
Yeah.
So what about communication you feel this
So
works?
I think again, right, it's like you know, if let's say we don't put our money together, you can buy whatever you want, I can buy whatever you want, I can buy whatever I want. We don't need to discuss. There'll be no conflicts, right? So another fear is that people are afraid of more conflicts when they get into this sort of mechanism.
Like if you want to buy a Fendi bag, I want to buy a Rolex watch, then you know like, oh, like, why you spend so much, especially if you have kids, that kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Valid.
apart from so my intention to have this mechanism is to create that kind of conflict in the relationship so we can resolve it together. Because if this conflict cannot be resolved, then again, you know, then probably leaving the relationship is the best idea lah.
Yeah, and so example is like, okay, we're not saying this happens for like everyone, but no, there could be scenarios where like, let's say if there's a separate finance, even though there's a common account, but maybe someone's earning more or there's an imbalance, then that person keeps buying like, maybe example like luxury items or buy a lot of stuff, but maybe the arrangement is such that, oh, like you can buy whatever you want with your personal account. So there's no communication, even if the other partner feel, hey, like why are you buying so much luxury stuff? Then you know, like then there might be some resentment because there's no communication.
So I think that's why it forces communication, or rather it's a platform for communication, because then you are forced to communicate because the money is now shared, right? So if let's say you want to buy a Rolex watch, or if let's say I want to like sign up for a course or whatever, we will have to sort of talk it out and share maybe the intention behind it. And if there's any discomfort, talk about it. But importantly is to facilitate the communication, not so much on restricting, having the power to restrict what each other wants or buy. To sum it up, right, this mechanism actually takes away a lot of the
fear-based illusions.
Fear-based illusions. Or it forces you to confront your biggest fears in the relationship. So
I want to cut you in here because I think it's very important that you say this, because it's not forcing, but it's really, this mechanism itself encourages both parties to face each other's like values and face each other's communication levels, to really like meet each other together, to understand like be it spending habits, intentions, purpose, like to communicate from a place of love instead of coming from a place of fear. Right.
And we also want to take into consideration why people might feel that this is not the best way. So in what kind of context? Because I would have friends who are very against this, and I also hear their opinion saying that, okay, if you have your separate account, both having separate account, I mean, of course, that is one option, but we didn't consider the middle option, which is that both having a second account, a separate account, then having a fixed
this is what we
account also.
considered.
So the first option is that, and the second one. Okay, so I mean, there's also a third option of both having separate accounts.
That one is a bit too segregated.
Okay, usually it's one or two, right? Okay, so maybe, so that one cut away.
No cutting.
No. Okay, so then, I mean, my friends who picked the first option, they would think that having that kind of arrangement helps them to, gives them a little bit more freedom and fairness. I mean, what do you think about that? And I'm sure a lot of your friends may also adopt that mechanism.
We have never talked about this before in terms of communicating it with our friends. We never really like talk about this before. So this is a very like sharing to our friends, because you communicate to your friends about our arrangement. I also communicate with my friends about our arrangement, but we never really like talk about how we like the what we hear, how we communicate.
How we communicate.
Yeah, as in, I don't know you told your friends.
Oh, I also didn't know.
Yeah, you told I told my friends. Yeah, but yeah, so I think it's quite interesting, and I think the thing that I experience also is when I tell my friends, or like I tell like sometimes my colleagues, I think sometimes it's like, they're very surprised expression. Because I think 99% is they have a common account and then they have a segregated account, right? So,
and this is only in the context of Singapore, because from my understanding, if we talk about other countries, the second option might be the more prevalent choice. But in the context of our local culture, I think it's not very commonly seen.
Yeah, it's not very commonly seen. And I think the fear is also like, the main thing that they do is because, I want to have the flexibility of like spending my own money. If I earn more, then I should reap the rewards more compared to like, combine. Then if I spend more, then there might be more judgment. There might be more like, like eyes on how I spend things. Like they don't want to have this conflict of like, if I want to buy something that I want to buy, right? So that's like their main like driver for having that arrangement. And also because like they have a common account, so it's okay, but we just common account for the things we share together. But then, own spending, we use our own account. Because if you want to buy Chanel bag, I want to buy Rolex, we do our own thing, but we still have common. So there's this kind of like arrangement.
Okay.
Yeah, but I
also
think
easier to 算账 if it comes to divorce.
A lot of my friends never talk about divorce, but yeah, I guess in that case, I'm sure people will also think about easier to like it's less messy if people think about.
So again, that comes from, in my opinion, a more fear-based mentality, because you're always thinking about the worst case scenarios, and that is a protective mechanism, right? Rather of going into second one requires more trust, because the so-called risk is higher. But if you really go to the worst case scenario of the second choice, then at least, yes, you get hurt. Maybe you will think that you should have known better, but at least that gives you indication, at least for me, that this relationship maybe isn't the
It's
relationship.
like money is
that-
like not really the concern. Right? That's
that
more
I
of-
want. Yeah, money is not really concerned. How we strategize the bank account, how we manage our finances, is not even a concern. Really. This relationship
Yeah.
might not even be right for me.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it goes back to your individual values when it comes to deciding what kind of mechanism works for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So essentially, I think one thing to highlight is when I did the research on what's the best arrangement, right, like for finances between couples, they say that there's actually no best arrangement. But one interesting thing that I found out about is in the current arrangement we have, which is like we put all our money together, right? There is this. They say that couples tend to use we and ours like more often, so there's a bit
Really?
more bonding.
Do you feel that's true for us?
And that actually made me, yeah, maybe it's something that's, I think it's true lah. I think it's true because when we talk about budgeting, when we combine everything, it's, even if you don't say the words, right, the we or ours, it's still, the intention, the energy behind it is still very together. So I feel that's the positive side lah. Of course, we're not saying that like there's a one way fit, or end of the day they say that both method works for couples. It's just which one would you prefer to like work with your partner, or whether you're comfortable with it. Most important is
Yeah.
comfortable.
And a lot of people, especially my friends, also ask me, okay, it seems like the second mechanism also is what I resonate with. So actually, when people even go with the first mechanism, right, but the second one is actually what they truly innately also feel that there's resonance, and they feel like, hey, if can, I also want to go into the second one. So the question, a lot of the questions I get from my friends is, how do you actually do it? What mechanisms, what steps needs to be in place? Because I can also attest to how when we have this arrangement for our finance, right, it's not a very smooth journey. You know, in fact, as I mentioned, communication is one, coming to confront conflicts is another one, but there's also a technical structure that we both need to come up with that works. I mean, we even have a WhatsApp group that consists of the four of us to put in our
Yeah,
expense. So maybe we should create another video to go into detail how we actually keep this second mechanism going. Even though it's a wonderful mechanism, but I think it can only work given certain conditions and certain
There's a
effort
transition
from
period,
both
and for both
party.
to put the effort to make it work.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which is something that I think maybe we should talk about it in another video lah.
Yeah. So I think like through this, the conflict on finances has been kind of more elevated. We do sometimes still like talk about finances, and we do have like discussions on it, or maybe sometimes arguments, but it's much lesser now. And of course, we're not saying this is the solution for every financial issue lah, but I think it's a place where if you're thinking about the arrangement, what you should do, no, you can be curious and try this out for a while, and maybe it might work for you guys, right?
Yeah, maybe for us, a few months time, we might revert back to first mechanism. Oh, actually, to be honest, we have
It's
never
very
been,
weird now that if you to revert back, I feel like I did think about it. If,
but we have never been in actually the first mechanism before.
but I think
Ours was totally separate account. Then we went into the second mechanism.
yeah. But I feel now if we try to have a common account and a separate account, I think it feels weird.
So now, basically, what you're trying to say is the second mechanism just feels like a very normal thing for you already.
Yeah,
it has been
beginning I
integrated
was
into
like,
your daily
yeah.
life.
Because my social circle all is using that mechanism, I'm thinking like, will this actually work? So, but I'm glad we tried it out, even though I feel like the first 1-2 months when we were working out how to make it work, it was a bit like a learning curve.
What was difficult
The learning curve
for you?
was communication.
See, that's why
Communication, like,
I can foresee this, and that's why I implement this so that he can improve his communication.
Yeah, it does help
because
lah.
he's an avoidant personality. So this really helps him. Like I said, it forces us to confront and communicate.
Yeah.
And this actually improves not just the money aspect of our relationship, but if you think about it, right, it actually improves other aspects of the relationship as well.
Yeah. And let's talk about some downsides of it. Maybe like, because it's not all rosy lah. There are definitely things you forgo with this.
That's why I asked you what's the learning curve, ma.
Okay, learning curve, one thing, the downside is yes, there's a communication thing, but that's more of like a transitionary thing. I think one of the downside is with this mechanism, right, like there's a lack of surprise. Do you feel so?
Oh yeah.
There's a lack of supply.
Oh, so yes, I think my friend also talked to me about this. Say, yeah, how when you want to buy presents or if it's his birthday, then you have to take from that account, that one account, then he would actually know what is it already.
Yeah.
What. But there's ways to work around.
Yeah, that's way. Okay, the thing is, right, a lot of my friends will say that, but the thing is, the crucial thing is, it's not like we every day check our bank app and go inside and
Yeah.
see what comes out. It's like,
in reality we
you don't
don't, right?
yeah, we only look at it end of the month.
Yeah.
So technically, there's a way to work around that, but yeah, there's still that. Maybe from a guy perspective, the ego is, I can't exercise my ego as much. Like, yeah, buy you this, like.
Yeah,
Like,
which is basically another intention of why this mechanism is there, to put down his ego.
Yeah. Really, cause I mean, some ego is okay, but I feel like like, oh, I buy you this or what. I think like between us don't really have that thing really. Like, and it wasn't really important in our relationship before. But from my egoistic side, I feel like, like.
Actually, it used to be very important for me when I was maybe
Really?
a university student. I mean, it's maybe part of every girl's dream. I cannot speak for every girl, but to
Okay.
receive that kind of love bombing and gifts, But I guess we're just past that stage.
True.
After like maybe, because now we are in our 12th year,
12 year.
but at some point that wasn't that much of a important thing for me in a long-term relationship. It's about how we relate to our everyday life moments and how we relate to each other. So therefore communication is much more important than me wanting that big surprise. Of course, sometimes big surprise would still be nice. I mean, who wouldn't like surprises?
Yeah. And I think importantly, like being conscious of, for me, of course, being more conscious about the spending. It helps to like, okay, kind of have my head around like where goes to where. Then I think for you, like as a therapist, right, how do you then, like do your clients have this financial like struggles with their partner or financial struggles? And how do you like give that therapist perspective to it?
I haven't worked with couples that come in just for financial issues. I guess your question is that how do I see this issue in therapy?
Yeah.
I guess when a couple has financial issue, right, it's normally not about the money issue itself. Okay. It's about one of those things that we talk about, like the communication, the trust, the insecurity, the
Values.
the needing to be surprised and all of that. All of these things just revolves around what we deem as important, like money, right? So conflicts will happen around that area because of the value that we assign to money and how it's such a big thing in our society, right? So that just kind of helps to highlight the cracks in which we need to pay attention to between the relationship, or it just highlights the areas that is
it's not aligned within themselves.
There's not aligned within themselves or conflict within the couple, right? It's not just this money issue that can bring out this sort of conflict. If you realize, right, if a couple have conflict around money, it's not a surprise that they have conflict in other areas also, like maybe family or how they make decisions, how they make even daily choices, whether or not they have that sort of coherence and alignment in the little things. Money is just one thing. So if a couple do have issues over conflict, that can be the presenting issue. But what is underlying, right? What is the underlying mechanisms that's creating that disagreement in how you view money? And are you able to talk it out? Are you able to reconcile? Are you able to repair? Come to agreement? All of these are skills, conflict resolution skills, communication skills that we work on in therapy, not so much on helping couples to come up with a strategy on how to the best solution of how to manage finance. No, that is not what therapists do in a therapy
So it's like
session.
it's like probably you're saying it's like a symptom of something that's more underlying in terms of like deeper issues of like values, communication, alignment with each other, that kind of thing.
Yeah, because if you think about it, at the very core of it, what is money? What is finance? Finance is just something that is so important in our 3D world because it can allow us to buy stuff, it supports our living, it supports our safety,
Shelter, all this,
shelter, and even so that we can pursue maybe our dreams, right? So all of this is so fundamentally tied to sort of like security, like the idea of money. Okay, but that's because we as a society, we give that pedestal to money. Okay, so because of this value that money has in society, it becomes a very common source of conflict, even within an individual, not just within couple, within an individual, but also within couples. But usually, if you unpack it a little bit further, it's not really about, money, but it's in the way you relate to each other. It's in the way you relate to this sort of things that we find important in life.
Wow.
Yeah, and you can shift.
Okay.
You can shift like money. You just take it out of the equation. Replace it with family. Family can be equally important, if not more important than money, right? But we also form a lot of conflicts around family, right? So it's the things we protect, right?
Things we protect.
Yeah, there are things that are important that we want to protect, or we feel insecure about, right? Usually they come together. Yeah, and I can say that this thing, maybe if it's something very important, right? Okay, then it has the power to ignite already existing conflict issues, underlying unhealthy mechanisms between the couple already. But if, of course, this thing is not important, we will think, this is a battle not worth fighting.
Yeah, it's like it's like means. It's just a means to something else. It's not really like on a pedestal, lah. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so as I said, a lot of this sort of what we call important things like job, money, family, and I don't know, other things that are so-called important is because we assign important value to it. But because we assign an important value to it, it usually can come into clash or bring out existing wounds, conflicts that are already there, insecurities that are already there. So in therapy, we look at that. I mean, at least for my type of work with clients, I go beyond the presenting issue.
You go underlying
to see what is it that is being triggered. That I mean, of course, there might be some times that we might need practical strategies and solutions to come up with a win-win. Sometimes we work with couples or individuals on a practical strategy on how to manage their finance. But at the very core of it, if you ask me what is the root here, and if people were interested to go into the root, right, not just solve a surface like issue, because if you solve a surface issue, the problem gets manifest in another way as well. Yeah, then it's about looking at the dynamics between the individual.
Yeah. So like money, family, all these are people assigning it important, right? Naturally so, like because that's
it consists our values and survival.
Values, because they're linked to our values survival. So we are not saying it's not good to put this as important, but it's more of like being aware that we label this as important, and that's why it kind of, because it's so important to the layman or everyone, that it's a bit more sensitive, and these will actually show up a lot of the underlying issues that might be present.
It's like a mirror.
It's a mirror that reflects out the internal world. Something like that.
It's a mirror that and then we always think that this is the issue, the money is the issue, but the money is not the issue. It's about what is it being triggered between the couple or within the individual is that issue.
Okay, so if I get you right, it's because these are important to us, and that's why they have the power to bring out the underlying issues and reflect it out, and
they are easy to blame.
Yeah, and you can. So it's like for example, what she says is like, maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, but if let's say we talk about money, right, and maybe my underlying issue is I equate my worth to money, right, and suddenly like maybe I get a pay cut or I lose my job, then like I'll be like saying, maybe when I have less money coming in, I'll be like, see, this is telling me that I'm not worth. My own self-worth is diminished because I'm taking a pay cut. I'm not worth as much. Then I have my confidence being eroded by that.
Yeah, and we can give our power to these things very unconsciously if we are not aware of it. But if we are aware of it, we actually come to realize that we are the person that assign meaning to whatever thing that we want to assign. We are the one that can choose whether this thing has power over us. But of course, it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
And sometimes you do have to go through rock bottom to come to realize that, okay, I don't want to give my power to this anymore because it's so unreliable to some extent, right? And that's how we come to reclaim our sovereignty usually.
Great.
Another example maybe from my
You want another example? Okay.
So when you say, I think you made a very good point in saying that how these things actually reflect deeper wounds. Yeah. So for instance, when in the past where I feel like when you don't want to have a shared account with me, or when you resist having a shared account with me, I will get very triggered and I feel very insecure. Right. And maybe the mental narratives will be like, okay, if you do not want to have a shared account with me, then maybe one day I would think that, you
I don't trust you.
You don't trust you, or you would abandon me. Okay. So it's sort of like
I'm ready to leave.
Yeah,
anytime.
like you're just ready to leave, or I don't feel loved. Okay. It could even be this as simple as I don't feel loved. Because I need you to show me that you give me something in which you feel is important, and that equates to my sort of
assurance
to feel that I'm loved. But the core issue isn't about that, right? It's about, even if you do that, for me, I still wouldn't feel loved at a very deep level. Then that has been settled because he now puts his money in me. But that comes out in another day, maybe during dinner, where he doesn't want to give me his meatball in his meatball. The same trigger comes out.
Hey guys, take note. Give your the meatball.
So it goes back to when something resonates with your values of, let's say, wanting to put the money together. And if, let's say, you are fearful because you're afraid that, this person is going to run away, or you don't have enough trust that you all will stay together for a long period.
There's like doubts and fear that comes up.
These doubts and fears, right, will come out in other forms.
I think it's very like important to kind of know that it is not the matter, like money, family, like it's not those things in our lives that is the fault. It's more about our own internal self that probably has some misalignment or some fears that we have not kind of confronted, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think importantly, as a couple, I mean, that's what I believe in. It's about working together to, at every step of the way, to confront some of this misalignment, this incoherence and inner conflicts. Because at the end of the day, when two people come together, they bring their own experiences and their values and their beliefs that cannot be 100% matched. So it's always a work. And whether or not two people can actually come together to sort of work it out. But of course, when it gets too hard, we might find another partner, but that's okay as well. But the same
it
cycle
might still repeat. Right. So I think that's a very interesting and good perspective, I feel, from a therapist. And of course, we want to emphasize that we are not saying that our way is the right way or best way. Everyone has their own ways, and it could work for different couples or different individuals. So just feel free to be curious about it and have the courage to try, but it's up to you end of the day.
Yeah, we want to know how you guys actually manage your finances, and if you guys actually use any of the two mechanisms that we described, or if you guys have another mechanism, we would love to hear from you. Do leave us your mechanisms in the comment section. And if you like this video, please like, subscribe, and
we'll see you in the next one.
We'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.